What do you want from me? I've done everything I can do. There's nothing more to do.
Welcome to Screams and Streams, the podcast that looks at the best and worst horror movies as rated on Rotten Tomatoes from 1970 onwards. I'm your host, Chad Campbell, and with me are my co-hosts,
Sam Schreiner
and
Mike Karen.
Be sure to check us out on Instagram. Our handle is @ScreamStreamPod. Also, check out our website at screamsandstreams.com for more information about all films that we are looking at. Just a warning, if you don't like spoilers, we recommend that you stop listening now, check out the film, and then rejoin us for our discussion. Today, we are looking at Peter Medak's 1980 film, The Changeling. It scored 85% on Rotten Tomatoes. Let's get into it. Sam's going to give us our summary.
A man whose family is killed in a road accident retires to a lonely mansion and begins to experience supernatural occurrences linked to the house's mysterious past and its previous owners.
And Mike, I believe you have a little, so this is based on a true story, so you have a little information on that?
Yeah, on the bonus features on the DVD, there was a historian or paranormal historian, I guess. He wrote a book on sort of haunted houses in the United States. And so he tells this story about Cheesman Park in Denver that started out as a cemetery way back when Denver was first being established as a town, and thousands of bodies were buried there over the years. But then the town realized like it's right in the middle. It'd be a great area for a park. So they wanted to reclaim the land to turn it into a park. And I'm sitting there watching this just like, so it's just poltergeist
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's kind of really getting on poltergeists.
So then they hired a guy to move the bodies, and he charged them a rate of something like $1.90 per body.
Oh,
Thinking like that's more than enough. And then once he got into the job of it, it's like, this is a lot harder than I thought it would be. And so he and his crew started to buy smaller caskets, and then they would put like a skull in one, an arm in another.
Oh no.
And claim those as bodies they were transporting.
Oh.
And getting paid for those. But because they knew how many bodies needed to be transferred out of the cemetery, once they hit that number, he stopped transferring bodies out. So then the grave stayed.
Oh,
So
I hate that.
so there's that part of the story. The other part of the story was there were, the richer people of Denver were able to pay for their own plots in their own areas, but the cemetery was also open to pauper burials or something like that is what they were called, where they would dig a bit of a deeper grave. And then they would put the first casket in, they would have the funeral. And then the next poor family that couldn't afford their own plot, they would dig slightly shallower and put a casket on top.
Doubled them up?
Tripled, quadrupled.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
And so part of what he talks about is how as Denver has been adding infrastructure and plumbing and maintenance and all these sort of lines into the area, they're finding more and more of these sort of pauper plots as they've been digging it up. And right across from Cheesman Park is a fairly affluent neighborhood. So they developed this house, not quite a Gothic style. It's not the house that we see in the movie. The house, we'll get into that. But it was a fairly big house. And in 1969, Russell Hunter bought the house and moved into it. And so it starts to parallel the film where he's a creative type. I think he was into music as well, but he is the writer of the film. So he's got that. Okay. And he claims that he started to have experiences similar to what is in the film. So the scene with the ball coming down the stairs.
Yeah.
Russell claims that he was exploring the house. He found the hidden door. The instant he opened it, the ball went down the stairs and disappeared. And then he brought over some ecclesiastical priests to clear it out. And they opened the door again and the ball came by and somebody grabbed it and threw it in the river and the ball came back. So like everything that we see in the film around that, Russell Howard claims happened to him.
Oh. Was there a cobwebbed wheelchair that chases people through the fucking upstairs?
I can't remember. I don't think so.
Because that was intense.
Yeah, but yeah, that is the true story that this movie's based on.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, that's
really
interesting.
Spooky. Yeah.
I can't believe. Well, it sounds like Poltergeist and some of these other films that we've seen maybe took, inspiration through that story, right? Because the bodies, you didn't move the bodies.
Yep.
Exactly that.
All right. And then Mike is also in charge of the Sinister Sips. And today we have a lovely looking drink. What are we drinking today, Mike?
Today is a gin and tonic with Empress Gin. And I paired it with The Changeling because just like a major plot point in the film, what you think is happening or what the person you think is there isn't who they were. So if you look at your Empress gin, it's nice and purplish blue in your glass. But when you pour it into your tonic, it transforms into a bit more of a pinker hue.
Oh,
So a changeling of a drink replacement.
Very well done.
I like it.
Looks delicious.
Cheers.
Cheers. Yeah.
Cheers.
Very good.
So now we're going to go into our first impressions, and I'm going to start us off with that. So first impressions of this film, I really actually liked it. From the beginning with no music and just the wind as the sound, and then he's pushing the car. The family looks a little too, to use an old term, a little too beaver. Like the beaver,
the perfect
cleaver,
family.
the perfect family. They really try to hammer it home. Oh, honey, and like they're pushing the Griswold family truckster through the snow and stuff, and that's a miserable time, right? But everybody's so happy because they're together and stuff, and then the tragedy happens, which took me by surprise because I didn't read the summary or anything like that. I like to go into these movies as blind as I can.
Yeah.
So I like that. I like George C. Scott's acting in it. I liked the ghost stuff. Yeah, overall, it kept me fairly engaged. The pacing's a bit slow for a film nowadays, but I think that's just my ADHD and my fact that I have a hard time sitting still for anything more than an hour and a half. But this movie does run just an hour and 40 minutes, isn't that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it is pretty tight. So yeah, overall, I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. Sam, what'd you think?
So I had actually seen this movie previously when I was a teenager, but I didn't remember it. So when we had this on our list, we're watching The Changeling, no idea what it was. And once I Googled it, and as soon as I saw the wheelchair, I knew exactly. The only thing I remember from the movie was the wheelchair scene. It's kind of bananas. A lot of people actually recommended this movie and said, oh, you should do The Changeling. Like, you should do The Changeling. And so I was like, okay. Yeah, as soon as I saw the wheelchair, I was taken back to when I was a teenager in that scene. And overall, I enjoyed it as well. I thought it was good. I do like a haunted house movie. And I think this one's really well done. I think it was well acted as well. Yeah.
Mike, what'd you think?
This is the first time that I've seen this film. It's one of those movies that I remember being in the video store and seeing the VHS cover and be like, that looks cool. I want to see it. And my dad never rented it for me.
It's so funny because in many of our other stories, he rents all these things at a slumber party, and my dad got a video for us, and it's Jaws.
It was always someone else's dad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I was always curious and interested in seeing this one. So when it came up on our list, I was like, yes, we get to do it. I don't know how I feel about it. Like, I enjoyed it. I was entertained. Like Sam said, it is a good haunted house film. I didn't know anything going into it either. So yeah, you see the truck and the car coming a mile away, so you know something's going to happen. But holy shit.
Yeah.
That caught me by surprise.
I know I was going to wipe them right out.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But I found the sort of the political through line pretty interesting. And I found the way they developed and moved it along while slow was good. It didn't rush through it.
No.
I was entertained. I liked it. But I think, again, it's one of those of its time films.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So with that, we're going to go into the meat of our categories. And our first one is Tropes, Hall of Shame. I'm going to start us off with this one. There's actually a few things that reminded me of The Shining in this film and in Amityville Horror.
Yeah.
There were some parallels there. The high angle shot approaching the evil house, the evil rundown house. It really needs to get some work done. He's just standing outside the gate, and then they get in the car, and it's a short little run up, but they go high for it.
Well, they make it look like that driveway is miles long.
Yes. Yeah. And they just drive up there, and that was the first one. My other one was ominous music after a ghost event. So anytime the ghost does something, it's dun. There's like that thing. I think when the wheelchair first turns or does something, it's like bum, bum, bum. Like it's not that, but it's in your face kind of. You should be noticing what happened. Did you notice nobody's in the chair? The ball is bouncing, people. Like, so it's kind of hit you over the head with that. So those were my first two. Sam, did you have any?
Yeah, I had quite a few, actually. I also said in my notes that was the most haunted looking house I've ever seen in my life. Like, you just know, like, there's some stuff going on in there. It's similar to kind of what you were saying. I had the piano that plays itself and the doors that open by itself. Those are like I know it's haunted house and those types of things, but definitely the piano that plays itself. I thought it was going to come in on the recording, that you were going to hear it like later on in the recording, not right then. So I thought that was a trope we've seen. And then the other one I had was the chandelier falling. As soon as I saw that giant chandelier, I was like, that baby's coming down. That one's not going to survive.
Mike, did you have a couple?
I did have the hidden door, right? And when you get into a new creepy house, there's always going to be a passageway, a room, something. So I like the way he discovered it. And I thought it was funny when he pulls off the shelf to get to it. Like, he doesn't give a fuck about the stuff on the shelf. He just destroys everything just to get to the door. And then my other one was the recording picks up the evidence of the ghost.
Oh, yeah.
I had a couple other ones. Strange noises are because the house is old. Must be the boiler room, right? Like,
always the boiler room.
Yeah.
They go down there and he starts hitting it with the hammer. This is what you heard. And we see the same thing in The Conjuring when they go, pipes are old. And so he's saying, oh, I'm hearing this pounding. And they're like, no, it's just this.
Right.
So another one I had was research at the library. About a house that has no record of anything. Like, they don't, I checked back to the 1920s and there's nothing that ever happened in this house. So then they go to the archives and it's like, oh, wait a second, someone died there.
Wasn't it because Minnie Huxley was hiding the files?
Yeah, so there's that conspiracy, right? They're making sure that nobody finds out about that.
Yeah.
So there is that justification for it, but they always go to the library and look up stuff to find, or like nowadays they go and look at Google. Right. Yeah. And yet they still go to a library. Like, everybody's got a laptop and stuff, like, just or on their phone. Why are we still going to the library to use their computers?
Data costs money.
Sam?
Thunderstorms. There's always a thunderstorm when something spooky is going to happen. And then this one's not really for horror movies strictly, but the professor coming in and everyone's already seated. So the professors and teachers always seem to be late. Or they're like right on time, but everyone's sitting there. They've got their books out, and he walks in. Everyone's seated. They're all ready to go. Which I feel like they would be like. I remember back in university, the prof would be there a couple minutes early, and he'd be talking to students. You could go ask questions. They don't just come in and everyone's like ready to go. So I thought that was kind of a trope.
It's the same in movies where teachers are always teaching right up to the bell, and then the bell goes, and they're I guess it's time. Remember, we have a quiz on, and they're trying to slam in this stuff as people are leaving.
Yeah, same type of thing.
And the kids are quiet to the bell.
Oh, yeah, I know, right? They're having this deep discussion until the bell, the learning stops. Another one, whenever you talk to the dead, you need to have a seance. So they had this one person that obviously is a clairvoyant or a psychic of some kind, and they find her, she's good. And so they bring her in to do that. And the real estate agent not knowing the house's history.
Yeah.
Right. And at first, I thought the trope was going to be, they didn't tell them. Mm-hmm. But she actually didn't know. But it seems weird that the real estate agent wouldn't know. But we see that in other films. They're either hiding it or they don't know what's happened.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So after that, we're going to go into our one-liners. The one-liners that I picked, one of them was with the doctor when they're trying to find the seance lady. I just like the guy that says 99% of them are false, but that 1%, astonishing.
That's good.
I was like, okay. And then I said underneath, it reminds me of Dumb and Dumber. So you're saying there's a chance. And then I had another one that was, that house shouldn't have been rented. It doesn't want people. I thought it was kind of a scary line. The person who said it, though, reminded me of the slug from Monsters, Inc. So I apologize if that offends somebody, but she really does look like that.
As soon as you said, I'm like, yep.
Okay, Mike, do you have any one-liners to share with us?
I do. You put the tail end of it, but I did like sort of in that same conversation where she says, that house is not fit to live in.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that is a great ominous foretelling. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then my other one is when they find the skeleton of the child in the well, and he's being, I think it's the police are talking to him, and he's like, do you have some idea who that child was? George C. Scott says, no, not really. Please ask, what's not really mean? Just like, no.
I had one more, and it was right when he enters the house. He's done all this stuff, and he comes in, and the doors are just slamming away, and he just looks up at the ceiling. Goddamn son of a bitch! And the rest of it's in the intro quote there, but the way he just is so frustrated, I just lost it. I thought it was hilarious how he did that. So now we're going to go into what doesn't hold up. Mike, you had a couple.
My first one was, and I think it's just maybe something I don't need to point out all the time, but the freeze frame of George C. Scott in the phone booth after the mother and the child get hit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like I feel like there were so many other ways to make that more impactful.
Right.
I mean, the destruction of that scene was insane. I don't know what else we needed to see, but the freeze frame kind of pulled me out of it because it's just end credits or kind of cheesy. The other thing I said was like, you can see that opening accident a mile away.
Yeah.
And there's a few other things in this film. It just feels like they really sort of telegraph it to you before it comes up. Yeah.
Sam, did you have some?
The scene where the metal comes out of the soil, I didn't really love. It was kind of cheesy, but I really liked John. And he was like, like he was not fazed by the literal chain, like just appearing and coming out of the soil. He was like, and he just scoops it up and goes.
There are a lot of times where he just looks, unaffected.
Yeah, completely unfazed.
He's just like, what's happening? Oh, yeah. Okay.
That was just
I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I was watching that metal scene thinking like, did they do this as like time lapse or sort of like stop motion? Or did they just like have someone on a string pull it into the soil and film it in reverse? And I was like, either way, it didn't work.
No, it was pretty bad.
Yeah. And did you have another one?
Actually, I would say that whole part of the movie, I didn't enjoy the police search. Like they moved a little, actually they moved quite a bit of soil because you can see it all over the bedroom around the hole. I was like, is that how they do this? I guess. But they just took out like a couple of bones and they're like, well, that's it. And then they wrapped up and they're like, do you know who this is? And like your quote from before. So I thought that was weird. And then I also thought it was weird too, that he can just go back to the crime scene later. Like there's no crime scene tape. There's no nothing. Like obviously the homeowner stayed with family, but he just walks in and goes and grabs the metal. And I was like, that wouldn't happen nowadays. So that was one for me.
I felt sorry for the homeowner. Like they just show up like there used to be a well here. We need to get at it. Yeah. And they cut through her floor. He smashes her window.
Yeah.
There's soil everywhere.
She's like, I'll have to call you back. And then she, you can go in there. And then it's just chaos. I had one, but I guess it could be a trope or it could be doesn't hold up. And it was the cops aren't doing any of the investigating. It's this musician and the real estate agent that are figuring everything out. And when they get to a point where the real estate agent says to John, shouldn't we tell the police? He's like, no, we don't have enough proof. But there's been a murder and you have like some body stuff and some things laying around. Like, don't you think you might want to keep them in the loop? But it just seems like cops are just, not used at all in the film. Right. Yeah. So other than like background sets and stuff like that. Yeah. Mike, did you have any others?
I did. And this one goes back to, again, the excavation of the skeleton from the well under the house.
Oh, yeah.
And there's reporters, and there's people around, and they carry out the remains in a clear plastic bag.
And the smallest bag ever, right? Like
you got a Ziploc sandwich bag to take these
There's
remains
nothing to
out.
see here, but check this out.
All right, so now we're moving into most gratuitous scene. Sam, you're going to kick us off with that one.
The actual drowning scene. I thought it made me feel ill watching that. It was went on and then they do it again later. Like we already saw it. We don't need to see it again. So that was really upsetting to me.
Mm-hmm. Mike?
My most gratuitous was the amount of times he rewinds the tape when he's got the evidence of the ghost, the voice from the seance.
Oh, yeah.
He rewinds it, like, oh, well. And he rewinds it. Oh, well. He rewinds. It's like, we get it. We heard it the first time. It's not like it was unclear or inaudible. He had to keep turning it up. So he rewinds, I think, 4 times, listens to the next question, listens to that question, answer 4 times. And I'm like, oh my God. And so it was just, it was gratuitous. I don't know what they were thinking. It wasn't driving anything home. It wasn't creeping me out anymore. It was just, it was an overuse of that.
I think they started that scene with just the whisper, right? Because it was like, Joseph. And so he rewound that a bunch of times. I think it was him figuring it out, right? And so they wanted to
He's a dull boy to me.
I think it was more of a character thing than it was for us, right?
Right.
That's what I think. Because I agree. I think they did it way too much.
Yeah.
And then when the boy's voice came in, I just thought it wasn't as scary. Like when they put, when Joseph came in. And Mike, can you talk? Can you do that again? The well, my body, my medal. I need a towel. It was
father. It was the father. Yeah, that one was gratuitous.
Yeah, I agree. Well, mine was taken. Sam, I agree. The bathtub drowning scene was very disturbing. I had a hard time watching it, and then I had to watch it again. And I was just, I think quick cuts could be used. We don't need to see the whole thing. And it's really disturbing. Like
it is.
And when he walks away, that angle shot of the father walking out and the boy just dead in the tub. Yeah. It was pretty disturbing. So yeah.
And the distorted face under the water.
Yeah.
Just gross.
Yeah.
All right. With that, we're going to go into our next category, which is terrifying or titillating. And I think I have the only ones. So it's funny. I thought the drowning scene was, as much as gratuitous, I thought it was very terrifying. The way it went on and the way he was struggling and they focused on the hands hitting the tub and stuff, it really was hard.
It was unnerving. Yeah.
So I put that in that category. The other one, at first, I had the recording of the child. Now, the recording I liked just when it was the whisper, and I mentioned this before. But when it got to the voice, I was, what are they doing? Why am I hearing this boy's voice? Like, I didn't like it. And I didn't think it was terrifying at that point. I thought it was scarier if they would have just kept the whisper.
Yeah.
So I wish they would have stayed with that.
I would agree.
So our next one is Stood the Test of Time. And Sam, you're going to kick us off with what stood the test of time for you here.
The ball bouncing scene. I know, Mike, you had already mentioned it and tied it to that story, but I thought that scene was really well done. I thought it was pretty spooky. Yeah. I thought the ball was going to come back like way later, but I love how he just comes back from going and throwing it into the river, and then all of a sudden it's there, like, and it's wet still, and it's bouncing down the stairs. I loved that scene. I thought it was really well done. I also liked the seance. I thought it was actually pretty well done. Yeah, it was a bit wild, a little bit with the scribbling. It was maybe a bit gratuitous in that sense as well.
Right.
But I thought it was really well done compared to some that I've seen in other horror movies. So
Nice. For me, I like the wheelchair scenes. I like the cobwebs in the attic. I just was like, oh, this is awesome. Like when it was chasing her upstairs and she was screaming, she looked terrified.
Yeah, she did well.
She really sold that. And then when it fell down the stairs, I thought that was pretty laughable though. Like, because she fell down and then I was like, well, what are you going to do now, wheelchair? And then it just like, just launches itself out. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeets itself after her.
So I actually really liked that scene. It was kind of fun. And I did have the seance scene as well. Mike, did you have a couple?
I did. The first one, I really enjoyed the creation of space in this film through camera angles and framing. I never even put it in my head, but then when you said there's parallels between this and The Shining,
right?
I was like, yeah, the vastness of that house.
Yes.
Even when he's in New York in his apartment and there's the high angle shot of him and his housekeeper comes in.
Yeah.
Like the distance between them, his size in that room of the memories was really well done. And it just kept impressing me as the film went on. I know they built the house for this film, but they built it with so much open space. And I love the way they used it. So that was my first test of time.
I had a comment about that earlier. I was like, this house is huge for one guy.
Yeah.
To come in there and rent that house. Mm-hmm. He asked, so how do you maintain a house this size? Oh, we got a housekeeper, Mr. Tuttle.
Yeah.
I was like, one dude?
But also he wasn't doing a great job on the outdoors.
Kind of shitty. Mr. Tuttle didn't know what the fuck he was doing.
That was one of my comments. Mr. Tuttle's been sleeping on the job. The front of that house is a disaster.
Well, it's funny, like when he's moved in and there's like all of his furnishings and there's rugs, I'm like, he furnished that whole house? No, he furnished the first floor. I was like, oh, thank God. I couldn't imagine like how much money does this guy have? He's filling every room.
There are levels. Like he walks out of his room at one point and looks around and it's like a hotel. It's just massive, this place. Yeah.
And then my next stood the test of time was George Scott's crazed eyes and his hair when he goes into the hidden room.
Oh, yeah.
So this is after he's pulled down the shelves and he's like manically gotten in. Hitting that lock was like, he's holding the hammer halfway up the handle.
That old medieval lock that needed like
I was like,
wizard spell to open.
Alohomora. But when he finally gets upstairs and he's just got these like wide, intense eyes, it's like, whoa, it was so good.
Again, with the parallel to The Shining, when Jack is like pounding on the door to get Shelley Duvall in that scene, this reminded me when he's hitting the hammer, because it's a low angle shot on his face and his hair is getting all disheveled and he's just going to town on it. And I was like, this guy, he's got a purpose. He's really. Sam, you had a comment you wanted to say?
Oh, I was just gonna say I had written in my notes. This man has never used a hammer in his life.
Yeah, I know.
He's not.
He's got a hands for pianos. Yeah. He's not building.
He's not building decks.
Sam, did you have any other stood the test of times?
Just to kind of piggyback on both of you guys, both kind of mentioned it already. I thought the acting was really well done. Like you mentioned the wheelchair scene. I thought the acting was pretty good. They didn't need anything cheesy. They didn't need like jump scares or anything like that to keep us going.
Right.
So I thought the acting was really good throughout. And then Mike, similar to what you said, the frames and the shots of the house. I loved the wide angle shots. I loved being able to see the railings just as they went up and up.
Oh yeah.
I really enjoyed that. So I thought they did a good job with that.
I loved when it would either shoot up or down the stairwell.
Yes.
So you'd see them spiraling.
Yeah. It was really cool.
Yeah, really well done.
I had a couple other ones. I had mentioned that I liked the seance scene, but one of the things that I really liked in that scene was John's face in the seance scene. How we talked about, you know, how he, this is just happening kind of thing. When they pan up to him one time and she's scribbling away and he's just watching this all go down, the look on his face looks like, for fuck's sakes, why am I here? He just looks so unimpressed.
Because all she's doing is like loops.
I know. And then they're just throwing the pages. So that I liked. And I also really liked the music box at the end.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
That was the thing that survived the fire. And it was just sitting on the chair at the end and playing away. And I thought that was kind of cool.
I didn't have this in any of my categories, but I loved when he finds the music box and it's exactly the lullaby or etude that he was playing.
Yeah, that
was really good.
That was awesome. Yeah, I like that. All right. Now we're going to move on to eerie to ear splitting. Mike, going to kick us off this one.
So my first one, actually, it's funny because you talked about it earlier where the quietness of the opening, you quite liked. I found the low level piano annoying. Like,
was there piano in the beginning?
There was a very little bit of piano. I put the opening credits music was annoyingly quiet.
Oh, I just heard wind. I didn't know they had it.
I think it's as we get towards before the crash, maybe. And it's just like a couple soft key plinking. It's like somebody who, maybe this is part of the film. I don't know, like a composer who hasn't quite found the song they're looking for.
Right.
But to open your film with such a sort of lacking confidence song just stopped me from getting into the film right away.
Okay. Then for me, and I made mention of this before, it was the recordings, and as though I liked them when they were a whisper, but as soon as it turned into the boy voice, I thought they were ear splitting. I didn't like it.
What didn't you like about it?
That.
Why are you so good at it?
Yeah, no doubt. Sam?
Kind of on both of those. I had the same ear splitting as you did. The father. So I had that. And then Mike, I actually liked the score in the film. Like, and Chad, you had also mentioned that like they had those sounds after there was something ghostly or spooky that happened. I didn't find them offensive.
Okay.
So they were there. Yeah. But I actually made a note that like, it wasn't cheesy. It wasn't over the top. It was the right amount of time after the event happened. Like, yes, there was a lot of them, but I didn't find them offensive.
Okay.
So I didn't mind them.
All right.
Mike, did you have any others?
Yes, I did. I put down the pounding is overwhelming at times. And I don't know if that's eerie or ear splitting, but when George C. Scott is in the house and there's the thumping and he doesn't know what it is.
Yeah.
At first I was like, okay, we get it. And it was like with the 5.1, it was just became sort of irritating or unpleasant to listen to. But then when you find out what that thumping is, I was like, oh, that was actually really good.
Yeah.
So it was overwhelming at points and almost overbearing. But then when you see the story of where that thumping came from, it shook me. me.
Right.
And I think that's the boy like trying to get attention. Like he's getting frustrated. He's like, listen to me. Like, right. So I liked it actually.
But then when he's pounding on the bathtub side, when he's being drowned, like,
that's like,
they paralleled it. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. So now we're going to go into our what the fuck moment. Mike, what the fuck?
I didn't understand why he threw out his daughter's ball.
Moving on,
I guess. Like he made it
rolled out a couple of times.
Yeah.
I would also throw it out.
Okay. Because he made a big point of like bringing it with him to the Seattle
river.
And from New York to Seattle, like it was his. And then when the real estate agent or the woman finds it and he's like, that's precious. That's my thing. And then he's like, well, into the river you go. I was like,
yeah.
So yeah, that was my first, what the fuck.
Sam?
Why is the disabled kid's bedroom in the fucking attic? He can't move. Like that was his bedroom, right? That wasn't like a weird bathtub.
No, I think he kept him locked up in there.
So he kept him locked up there so he couldn't. Okay. That makes more sense.
There's a whole bit of abuse there.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
So,
yes. Okay.
Okay. My what the fuck is the real estate agent even mentions this. She checks throughout the whole house for John, can't find him. Then she says, don't make me come up in that creepy attic. And then she goes into the creepy attic. Like she can't find anything. She hears these noises and then she goes up there. I thought it was you when finally John grabs her. Mm-hmm. Like I thought it was you. And there's no way. Right. Yeah, I would have walked in there, looked up there, I was like, fuck you, John. I'm out of here. I was like, so yeah, I don't understand why she went. That was my what the fuck. Mike, did you have another?
Yeah, my other what the fuck, I wrote it down when the scene started and then it made sense by the end, but it was still kind of literally like what the fuck when it was happening. And he's gone to confront, I wouldn't even say confront Carmichael, but he's gone to talk to Carmichael at his house, giving him the medal.
Right.
And Carmichael's looking at the picture. And I think we cut to another scene. And then Carmichael is now at the house, going up to the attic and witnessing the father drowning, witnessing his adopted father drown the boy.
Yeah.
And I was like, how the fuck did Carmichael get to the house? Like, why? Like, it just didn't make sense. And then we cut back and we find out that he's having a vision.
Yeah, it's in his mind. Yeah.
And I know I kind of crap on other films for being soft focus and ethereal when we're like doing these dream sequences, but this felt so much based in reality that it just, I thought he like in his pajamas left his house and all of his security, drove to the house and then went inside. It just didn't make sense.
Yeah, I had that in my hiding in the shadows, actually, because I wasn't sure where to bring it up. I had that too. I said, wait, he was there? How? Is that just in his mind then? And then it's like, wait, it's burning? I'm confused. But then after it all kind of wrapped up, I was like, all right. But yeah, I felt the same way. I thought it was just kind of slotted in there at a time. We hadn't seen visions before and we hadn't seen anything like that happen before. And then they just threw it in at the end. And yeah, I agree. It was a little confusing.
Yeah.
And when I was doing research, I literally put in the title of the film and then the first thing that popped up was ending explained.
Oh, yeah.
So I think a lot of people were a bit confused about that.
Right. Okay. So now we're going to move on to back it up moments. Mike, you're going to kick us off with this one.
My first scene, we've talked about this, but I really liked it. It is the seance. I love the way they did it. I wrote down her blank stare, the hum of the pencil, the flipping of the paper. I really liked the sound and the rhythm of that scene. Mm-hmm. It drew me in and I thought they did a really good job with it. And the creepiness, I like the idea of her having a translator where she's like writing and then he's just like, no, Joseph, he's got to read the answers. They did a great job with it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's really well done.
And then my other one, again, we've talked about it. It's when Claire's at the house and she's scared of the wheelchair.
Yeah.
It seems weird when I write, when you read my writing out of context, Claire at the house, scared of a wheelchair. That's a back it up. But we talk about the acting. I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah. She really nailed it.
Yeah. Her terror was like my terror in that scene.
And then when they get out and John is going to go back in, like her freak out, don't go back in there. It was, she nailed it. Yeah, it was awesome. Okay, going into hiding in the shadows. Mike, do you have anything for that?
I did. And I just had a question at the end of the film. Why suddenly start killing?
Yes, I had that in mind as well.
I didn't get it. There was no killing at this point. There was haunting. There was all of that. But like, why did the ghost suddenly just start killing? Especially when I thought the whole point...
Like killing the senator? Is that what you mean? Or
Because I thought the whole point was the ghost just wanted its story told.
I thought it kind of wanted closure. I thought it wanted him to know.
Yeah.
And then he was, I don't know, he was going to help him get revenge. I don't know.
I guess.
Well, and on that too, like the police captain's death, the car accident that happened.
Yeah.
So that's where
right.
that was
that's
the
where
first.
It starts,
yeah. And I was like, why? Like, I know why, I guess, but up until then, you're right. Like, there's nothing violent. There's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not killing anyone, right?
Because the police captain threatens to shut down
to put
John's
him in jail,
investigation,
right?
right? He's like, if you keep proceeding with this, we're going to, and then he dies.
Yeah.
So there's only 2 deaths really, right? It's him and
Carmichael.
And Carmichael.
Yeah. And they make it like they play it up so much. It's like there was no one else around. Like, they don't know how it happened. And that scene itself was kind of laughable too. It was
pretty cheesy.
It was
done.
really
they
cheesy.
did the rotating camera kind of thing, and then his face in the broken
mirror. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
pretty laughable.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. Yeah. So now we're going to go into our bonus features. One of the things I thought was interesting is that George C. Scott learned how to play the piece of classical music that he plays on the piano for the college students.
Yeah, that's impressive.
That was pretty cool.
Wow, that is.
Sam?
Apparently, for the horse riding scene, George C. Scott was so terrified of horse riding that they actually had to use a double for that.
Oh.
Which I thought was kind of funny.
But it makes sense because you never see them on the horses.
Yeah.
You see them kind of riding from far away, and then the next scene they're walking the horses. I never understood that because I've been riding at my uncle's place, and we never walk the horse until we're putting it in the stable. You don't just get out and slowly saunter with the horse.
They gallop for miles.
And then we're going to walk it, and then we'll go back. Yeah.
Well, and that part was kind of weird. Like, I get it's them like developing this kind of relationship that I actually respected the film for not throwing a love story in.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like we see so many that they really play it up. But yeah, I felt that was kind of weird. I was like, oh, a love story is brewing, and then it never went through, which I appreciated.
Mike?
I had the financial information. So the budget for this movie was $55 million, which is a lot for that time.
Yeah, no doubt.
But its box office was 113.4.
Okay.
So it did quite well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had another one. I've heard this as well, that George C. Scott has been known to be difficult to work with.
Right.
And so the director, Peter Medak, said he was initially intimidated by stories of actor George C. Scott being difficult to work with. The only trouble Medak had with Scott on the set was when the production managers accidentally knocked over a chessboard on which Scott had been playing a game against himself for over 2 weeks. So it's pretty mild. I've heard stories where he was boozing and was like really difficult to be around. Mike, did you have any others?
I actually found on YouTube, you can find the Siskel and Ebert episode of Siskel and Ebert at the movies where they review the film. And Siskel did not like this movie.
Really?
Yeah. The one quote I loved is like, this is after they see the wheelchair. It's like, oh my gosh, they just saw the boy's wheelchair. Very dumb acting there. So forced, so stiff.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
In the conversation, not in the finding of the wheelchair, but like afterwards when like he's in the chair crying and like, the melodramatic exchange. And then he made a good point where he's like, because he really did not like it, did not like George C. Scott's performance. Okay. And he's like, the problem with the film is like, if we reject George C. Scott and his character, then we reject the whole film. The Changeling is a waste of a very good actor.
Oh,
yeah. And then Ebert's defense was that he thinks that Scott's performance was too good. It's too psychological. It's too subtle.
Oh, okay.
Right. He's like, in a horror film, you're wanting that over the top, that big reaction. Whereas George C. Scott is a very leveled, even performance throughout.
Right.
So yeah, Ebert liked it. Siskel, not so much.
But I thought that made it seem a little bit more real.
Well, and that's,
right?
Yeah. So
like,
I don't know where Siskel's coming from on this.
Well, and like when I was doing a little bit of research too, and of course, reading through some Reddit threads as one does.
Yeah,
always.
As one does. Yeah.
One interesting question was like, how would this movie have been different if it was a family that had moved in? Or like a husband and wife, that kind of thing. Like, how would that have changed it? So a lot of people actually appreciated that he was so, because one of the big questions was like, why is he so unfazed by all of this? Right. He doesn't care at all. And they said that it was kind of like new, and we don't really see a single man being haunted in a house, right? Like it's usually a family, because it's usually like the kids are getting impacted first and the wife's questioning, like those types of things. Right.
Yeah.
So that was kind of interesting.
Cool. Mike?
Just a little fun one. This was Joshua Jackson's first on-screen appearance. At 7 months old, he played a baby in this movie. This is Joshua Jackson of Dawson Creek fame.
Oh,
where's the baby in the movie?
I don't know.
Where is the baby?
Must have just been like pushed in a pram in the background or something.
All right.
That was a forgettable scene. I don't remember it at all. All right, so now we're going to go into our watchability scale. Mike, out of 10, what would you give this?
I know I said I liked it. I know I was entertained by it, but It's a 6.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was thinking of 5, but I think the acting brings it up to a 6, but it doesn't go higher than that for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sam?
I've been playing with whether I'd put it as a 6 or 7, and 6.5 then. I enjoyed it. I wouldn't tell people to rush and see it, but I think it's worth people seeing.
I'm a 7. It's a good watch. I enjoyed the film. And there's enough of it for me to say, yeah, go check it out. I like ghost stories and with a little bit of mystery attached to it. So yeah, I thought it was well done. So I liked it. So 7 out of 10. And with that, we'd like to thank you very much for listening to us. And remember to follow us on Instagram. We are at Scream Stream Pod. Stop by our website, screamsandstreams.com, where we have information about our episodes, descriptions of our categories, links to our research, our watchability scale, and a page where you can recommend movies you want us to discuss. Please rate, comment on, and subscribe to our show on any of the platforms where you get your podcasts. Till next time, this has been Chad and
Sam
and
Mike.
Scare you later.